Welcome back. We've set the timing and we did some things with our simple animation, and I'd like for you to think about going one more step. I know I had trouble with the audio showing up here, so I'm going to go back and let's look at what it would look like if I added clouds to my sky. I also added some blowing leaves and a little owl back here. And then I added some tweening in between the lightning. So now that you know how to tween, that I tweened these first couple of frames here so that it has gone from black to the tree. And then I tweened in between to add the lightning. And then as you can see, the little leaves blowing. And then I really like the cloud atmosphere, and I added a few more trees. So I wanted to show you how you might consider doing that. And the first thing is the clouds, and these are clouds that are done with render difference clouds. So the first thing that I have to do is on a separate layer, if you've already done your animation and you want to add to it, you come in and you pour out white or gray or something that is cloudy. And then you're going to go filter to your Gaussian blur, and I have set that blur at really high amount, that I have it at 64 pixels. And you can also change the opacity once you get it in there if you think it's too much. And then this is really simple. There's two ways that you can do that. That if you go down to render and you go to clouds and on a blue sky, then that will look cloudy, and you can change your opacity for just the area that you want to have clouds. Or if you want to do it like I did and I want it to be more like fog, then I'm going to go and I'm going to render difference clouds, which will really look like the night sky. And that's what I did here. You can see my difference clouds here. And you have to be really careful about where to put them too. That as you see, I put more trees in. I also have a little owl sitting in the tree because I made an owl earlier. And then the trees that I made smaller that are going to go in the background, and I changed them so they're not so bright so that I can create distance. And I also then put the clouds so that they're in front of the tree, but the moon is still in front of the clouds, and then the tree that's closest doesn't have the fog. So that way you have some atmosphere. And then you can also see the leaves blowing off the trees, which I made here a little bit as well. So that adds a little bit more spookiness to the video animation that I have here. And then for my tree, that I came in and under render, I played with every sort that I could play with and try to get my tree as spooky as possible. And then you can come in and on your tree level, you can transform and make it smaller. You know, so I have it really big and you want it to be quite a lot smaller than your foreground tree. And you also can do some things like warp, puppet warp, and try those things under your transform. So if you come into warp, you can make your tree look more twisted, more older. You know, so you don't want it to look like your foreground tree. And no two trees are alike, so you want to change them as many ways as you possibly can. And then when I went in to adjust to hue and saturation, then you can make it lighter if you need to go on the background. You can change it to that purplish color that I had here, make it more or less saturated, whatever looks better to put it into the background layer of your trees. That when you add that then into your background, and I'm going to duplicate that so that I can show you what happens, that's going to go into my lightning animation. And since my animation layer is done, that tree that I just added, and layer 7, layer 6 copy, layer 1 is what it was called. Do I see a layer 1 here? Is that it? there's layer 1. I believe it was probably layer 7. Let's see. Step backwards. And try it again. Duplicate layer. So I can find it. Lightning animation. And I'm certainly not seeing my tree, and I'm not sure why it's not showing up, but it should show up on every layer. And if you do not want your tree to be in the layer and you've already done tweening or something with that, then you can just select the layers, and if that's it isn't showing up right, select the layers and turn off the layers you don't want your tree to show up on. Alright, so I have really played around with the tweening here, and I want there to be some ambient sound in the background. So I've gone online and I've looked for free sound. So you could go and look for lightning, you can look for other things. You're looking for an MP3 sound royalty free, and find some different things that you want, that night sounds, weather sounds, rain, thunder sounds, you know, a storm, and add them to that as well, and come into that to do that in your animation. Once you get it all done, and here I am, that I have it at the beginning, I've added my tweening, and I've played a little bit more with the timing, because I want there to be time for the sounds. I've made the lightning not quite as fast. I had it at 0.1, and I've let the lightning be 0.2. So that is a little bit longer. And then I click over here under my movie, and I can export it as a movie. So I'll come to export and render video. Make sure if this is a second video that you've rendered with it, that you call it something different than the first one. Here I've misspelled lightning, and that would be L-I-G-H. Lightning animation MP4, and render, and hopefully that'll go onto my desktop, and then I could come in and play further with the sounds with it in a program like this. You do have Adobe Premiere. You can play with Adobe Premiere on your computer and look on how to use that online. Open it up and see if you could add your sound in. Or this is something that I put in for my Windows 10, since Microsoft no longer has a really easy to use video editor in Windows 10, and I got this, and in order to upload it and save it as a YouTube, then I had to actually pay for it. So something that you can get to use on your computer that you like. There's a whole lot of video editors. Have fun. Either do some things with your final animation or come in and make your lightning animation further.